that is long overdue. Long overdue for the human rights. And also Diane said, well, you know, what else would you think about it? There's just something very quickly in getting to our program, and I was thinking about it and contemplating on it. It's a right to be the best quality of life for all humans. It is great to be human, but even better to have rights that assure equality and quality of life for all people, no matter what, in spite of ethnicity, gender, class, or economic status. So therefore, we have to move even further and make sure that we work very hard during this 50-year commemoration in order to make this happen. Now I'd like to introduce you to a young lady that will enlighten us with a poem. And as we know that what we're doing now, as I told my husband this morning, we may not be around to see the full benefits of what we do today, but the young people will be here. So we're doing it for our future, and they are indeed our present and our future. So I'd like to introduce a young lady by the name of Miss Sarah McCune, and she's going to give you a poem. She's a slam poet, and concerning human and civil rights. Sarah.
So I'm a graduate of Birmingham Southern as of last May, and I'm currently in seminary, so enlightenment's kind of an interesting word to use. Maybe you consider it enlightenment, but being a seminarian now, I'll let you determine that. But this is a poem. I was recently in Harlem, and while I was in Harlem, I started to realize that the first place I learned about Harlem and the Harlem Renaissance was in Birmingham, Alabama, in the classroom of Birmingham Southern. And so it was about, I guess, my freshman year when I realized that the significance of human rights and civil rights discourse was something that was going to inform not only the generations that came before me, but my generation as well. For me, poetry is where God speaks loudest. And so I'd like to share a poem that I wrote based on my experience in Harlem. It's very situational to Harlem, but again, for Birmingham and the situation we're in now, I feel like this program and this poem is particularly applicable. We walk through the valley of the shadow and stand on Langston Hughes' remains, found beneath the intertwining Euphrates, Congo, Nile, and Mississippi rivers. We inhale poetry from ashes and dust, remnants of centuries of racial clashes, and erecting monuments of the powerful man's bust. We breathe in a deferred dream and wonder why the Negro speaks of rivers with such gust. Oh, what have we done? A man prostrates beneath Lincoln's feet, the illusion of freedom. A chain sets his soul free, but you can still hear the iron shackles beat against his fleshy wrist. We treat Sarah Bartman like a piece of meat, calling her the Venus hot and taut, a marketplace exchange. We decided that the auction block one's body could be bought. Some may say the beat comes from ancestral drums, but we know the sounds of chainsaws uprooting and dismantling one's home, digging up ancestral burial grounds. We create Ellison's invisible man. I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me. Like the bodiless heads you sometimes see in circus sideshows, it is as though I have been surrounded by mirrors of hard, distorting glass. When they approach me, they see only my surroundings. Themselves were figments of their imagination, indeed everything and anything except me. 1,369 light bulbs, billions of lights in the city illuminate night and day, yet human flesh stories are invisible. We call it shadow play. Seneca Village, few say remember, never forget, but it took digging for profit to discover beneath ash and dust what remained of a father, mother, sister, brother, skeletal bust. Do you know the African burial ground is a contested space, a place that forces the majority to admit they made a mistake? We inflict trauma and as Ironmen protest. There is a dramatic loss of identity and meaning, a tear in the social fabric, affecting a group of people that has achieved some degree of cohesion. We tear the quilts, stitched by ancestors past, yet we still try to construct a new memory, one that has been fabricated, is fake. Through subway stations, we hear Louis Armstrong's trumpet cry out in the light. I'm right inside, but that don't help my case, because I can't hide what's in my face. The jasmine sounds. How would it end? Ain't got a friend. My only sin is my skin. What did I do to be so black and blue? We ignore Schomburg, who fought to preserve his people's fleshed words, but places like the Harlan Studio Museum bring artists to the floor. This is not for entertainment. This is cultural preservation in a world too scared to admit we create cultural trauma. We believe it is better to forget, but remember Julius's advice. A book suggests conversation. One person is speaking to another. An audible sound is or should be a natural to that exchange. So I read aloud with myself as the audience and gave voice to another's words. Give voice to another's words. And remember, the Harlem Renaissance is rebirth. Out of ash and dust there is new life. Speak to Henry Allen, Gwendolyn Bennett, Arna Von Tom, Alice Childress, and Aaron Douglas, W.E.B. Du Bois, Duke Ellington, Jesse Fawcett, Marcus Garvey, Billie Holiday, Zora Hurston, Jacob Lawrence, Alan Ray LaRocque, Bob McKay, Florence Mills, A. Philip Randolph, Arthur Schomburg, Wallace Henry Thurman, Gene Toomer, James Vanderzee, Madam C.J. Walker, 700 unnamed beneath Duane and Street and Elk Street. Can you hear them beat against the soil, trying to impart one final breath? Ones under mounds now termed a sacred space, names forgotten because of their race. Remember the bodies, the hands, the feet, the eyes, the ears, the mouths, the hearts. Our senses guide us to keep alive our cultural ties. We only remain bound as long as we refuse to bring the past up from underground.